You've likely told yourself that waking up 3 or 4 times every night to use the bathroom is just an inevitable tax you pay for getting older. But what if I told you that this exhaustion isn't a life sentence? Most people believe they are simply hydrating for health, but they are actually overloading a system that is trying to rest. Think of your kidneys like a busy factory. During the day, the full crew is working, but at night, the night shift takes over with 40% fewer staff. When you drink at the wrong time, that factory gets overwhelmed. In my clinical practice, I see far too many active seniors losing their vitality simply because no one explained this biological rhythm. The real danger isn't just a full bladder. It's that groggy walk in a dark hallway at 3 a.m. One wrong step could mean a loss of independence that you can't easily reclaim. There is a better way to regain control using a simple 8-hour method. I'm Dr. Eric Whitman, and it's time to work with your body, not against it. If this is your nightly struggle, just comment, "Still me." This is Dr. Eric Whitman, and I want to spend some real time with you today. Not just a 15-minute clinical visit, but a deep dive into something that most doctors simply don't have the time to explain. We are going to peel back the curtain on why your body is behaving this way. If you are frustrated, if you feel like your body is betraying you every night at 2 a.m., I want you to take a deep breath. You aren't broken. You are simply operating on a set of biological rules that have changed, and no one gave you the updated manual. To solve the problem of waking up at night, we first have to understand the hidden machinery of your kidneys and your bladder. Many of my patients believe that if they have to pee at night, it's just because their bladder is old. While age plays a role, the real story is much more fascinating, and it's happening at a microscopic level. Think of your kidneys as a high-tech filtration factory. They are remarkably efficient, processing about 200 quarts of blood every single day to sift out waste and extra water. However, like any world-class facility, this factory operates on a strict schedule. This is governed by your circadian rhythm, your body's internal clock. A landmark study from the Mayo Clinic brought to light a reality that every American over 60 needs to hear. Your kidneys have a night shift, but it's a skeleton crew. The study found that once we cross the threshold of 60, our kidneys reduce their filtration speed by approximately 40% during the night. Why does this happen? During the day, your heart is pumping vigorously, your blood pressure is slightly higher because you are moving, and your blood flow is concentrated on filtering toxins while you are active. But when you lie down to sleep, your body enters a maintenance and repair mode. Your heart rate slows, and your blood flow shifts away from the high-pressure filtration of the kidneys and toward the restoration of your brain and muscles. The problem occurs when you provide that factory with a massive shipment of raw material, water, right as the doors are closing for the night. If you drink a large glass of water at 8 p.m., your kidneys, now operating with 40% less capacity, simply cannot process it before you fall asleep. The water sits in the warehouse, so to speak. Eventually, while you are in the middle of a deep, restorative sleep cycle, the factory finally processes that water, dumps it into the bladder, and your brain is forced to scream, "Wake up! We're at capacity!" The second biological hurdle is the physical container itself. In our 20s and 30s, the bladder is a marvel of elasticity. It is made of a specialized muscle called the detrusor, which can stretch to hold up to 17 or 18 ounces, 500 milliliters of fluid comfortably. At that age, you could drink a large soda at a movie theater and not feel the urge to go for hours. However, as we age, a process called fibrosis occurs. The elastic fibers in the bladder wall are gradually replaced by tougher, less flexible collagen. By the time we reach 65, the average bladder capacity drops significantly, often to just 8 to 10 ounces, 250-300 milliliters. Imagine you used to drive a truck with a 30-gallon gas tank, but now you're driving a compact car with a 10-gallon tank. If you try to put the same amount of fuel in, you're going to have to stop at the gas station 3 times as often. When your bladder is less elastic, it reaches its full signal much faster. Even a small amount of urine produced by those night shift kidneys can trigger a sense of urgency, that pulls you out of bed. Perhaps the most overlooked factor in nighttime urination is a hormone called vasopressin, also known as antidiuretic hormone, ADH. This is a chemical signal sent from your brain to your kidneys that essentially says, "Slow down, we're trying to sleep." Under normal circumstances, your brain ramps up vasopressin production as the sun goes down. This hormone tells the kidneys to concentrate your urine, to take the waste, but leave the water in the bloodstream so you don't have to go to the bathroom. It's the reason why a healthy 30-year-old can sleep for 8 hours without a single trip to the restroom. But here is the catch. Research shows that after age 60, our bodies produce up to 50% less vasopressin at night. The stop signal to the kidneys has become a whisper instead of a shout. Without that hormonal break, your kidneys keep churning out dilute urine at a daytime pace all night long. This is why you might feel like you are reproducing more urine at night than you did during the day. It's not your imagination. It's a hormonal imbalance that we have to account for through behavior. Let me tell you about a patient of mine, Mrs. Elaine. She's 68, very health conscious, and lives in a sunny part of Florida. She had been told by her primary doctor that she needed to drink 8 glasses of water a day to keep her kidneys healthy. Elaine was busy. She'd spend her mornings gardening, running errands, and volunteering at the local library. She'd have a small cup of coffee in the morning and maybe a few sips of water with lunch. By 5 p.m., she'd realized she had only drunk about 2 glasses of water. Panicked about her health, she would spend her entire evening catching up. She would drink 2 large 16-ounce bottles of water between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. while watching the news. Elaine was doing what she thought was right. She was being responsible, but she was effectively drowning her nighttime biology. She was forcing a 40% slower kidney shift to handle a massive workload, with a bladder that had half the capacity it used to have, and with 0 hormonal breaks to slow the process down. She was waking up 4 times a night, feeling dizzy and terrified of falling in the dark. When Elaine understood that her timing was the enemy, not her water intake, her life changed. And that brings us to the solution. Now that we understand the why, let's talk about the how. We need a strategy that respects your body's new rules. We call this the 8-hour method. This isn't a life hack or a fad. It is a clinical protocol used by specialists at institutions like Harvard Medical School to treat chronic nocturia. The philosophy is simple. We are going to front-load your hydration so that by the time your kidneys go on their night shift, the work is already done. We use what I call the 80-15-5 rule. To make this work, we have to stop thinking about daily totals and start thinking about hourly windows. If your goal is to drink roughly 64 to 70 ounces, about 2 liters, of water a day, which is a standard recommendation for most seniors, here is how we distribute it using the 8-hour method. Phase 1. The golden window, 7 a.m., 3 p.m. This is the first 8 hours after you wake up. During this window, your metabolism is at its peak, your heart is pumping efficiently, and your kidneys are in their maximum filtration mode. In this phase, you will consume 80% of your total daily water. That is approximately 54 ounces. I know that sounds like a lot, but when spread over 8 hours, it's about 6 to 7 ounces per hour, less than a standard measuring cup. By drinking the vast majority of your water now, you are ensuring that your blood is hydrated, your toxins are being flushed, and your cells are plump and healthy, while your body is best equipped to handle the load. When you hit 3 p.m., you should feel a sense of accomplishment. You've done the heavy lifting for your health. Phase 2, the transition zone, 3 p.m., 7 p.m. As the afternoon turns into evening, we begin the taper. During these 4 hours, you will consume only 15% of your daily water, which is roughly 10 ounces. This is just enough to keep your mouth from feeling dry and to satisfy a mild thirst after dinner. Think of this as sipping for comfort, rather than drinking for hydration. You are signaling to your kidneys that the workday is winding down. You are giving your bladder a chance to empty what you drank earlier without adding a new, heavy volume to the queue. Phase 3. The maintenance phase, after 7 p.m. Once 7 p.m. hits, we move into the final 5%. This is approximately 3 ounces. This is not for drinking. This is strictly for taking your evening medications or a tiny sip to moisten your throat if it feels parched. By the time your head hits the pillow at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., your kidneys have had hours to process the golden window intake. Your bladder will be empty, and because you aren't adding new fluid, that 50% drop in vasopressin won't matter as much because there isn't much fluid left for the kidneys to turn into urine anyway. I often tell my patients to think of their body like a car they are taking on a long road trip. If you know you're going to drive 500 miles during the day, you fill the tank to the top at 7 a.m. before you leave the driveway. You use that fuel while the engine is running and the car is in motion. What you don't do is wait until you've parked the car in the garage at 9 p.m. and then try to shove 20 gallons of gas into the tank. The car isn't moving. It doesn't need the fuel right then. In fact, if the tank has a small leak or a pressure issue, like an aging bladder, that fuel is just going to create a mess overnight. Hydration is fuel for your cells. Use it when you are moving, breathing, and active. Don't store it when you are trying to be still. Let's look at the real-world impact of this. Mr. Michael, a 69-year-old retired engineer, came to see me because he was miserable. He was waking up every 90 minutes. He was so tired during the day that he was afraid to drive his grandkids to soccer practice. He felt like his brain was in a fog, which is a common side effect of fragmented sleep. Michael was a night sipper. He kept a large 32-ounce tumbler of ice water on his nightstand and would take big gulps every time he woke up because his mouth felt dry. It was a vicious cycle. Drink, pee, wake up, feel dry, drink more, pee again. We implemented the 8-hour method. We moved his 32-ounce tumbler to his breakfast table. He started drinking 10 ounces the moment he woke up. By 3 p.m. he had finished 2 of those tumblers. After 7 p.m., he stopped drinking entirely and switched to a simple mouth rinse if he felt dry. The first 3 nights were an adjustment. His body had to relearn the rhythm. But by the end of the first week, Michael went from 4 wake-ups to 1. By the end of the month, he was sleeping 7 hours straight. The change in Michael wasn't just about the bathroom. His blood pressure stabilized because his body wasn't under the stress of constant waking. His brain fog lifted. He told me, "Dr. Whitman, I feel like I've been given a second life. I thought I was just getting old and senile, but I was just exhausted." That is the power of working with your biology. When you understand that your kidneys have a night shift, that your tank is smaller, and that your hormonal brakes are a bit worn down, you stop fighting yourself. You start using the 8-hour method to give your body exactly what it needs, exactly when it can handle it. In the next part of our journey, I'm going to show you the specific hour-by-hour protocol and the hidden enemies. Those drinks you think are fine but are actually sabotaging your sleep. But for now, I want you to sit with this. Your sleep is reclaimable. You have the power to change this starting tomorrow at 7 a.m. Now that we have established the biological why behind your nighttime wake-ups, it is time to get practical. Understanding the science is the foundation, but having a clear, hour-by-hour roadmap is what will actually get you through the night without a trip to the bathroom. In my years of clinical practice, I've found that most people fail not because they lack willpower, but because they lack a specific, repeatable structure. We are going to build that structure together right now. This is the hour-by-hour protocol, and it is designed to sync perfectly with your body's natural rhythms. Your day begins not with your first cup of coffee, but with what I call the morning kickstart. At 7 a.m., or whenever you first open your eyes and step out of bed, your priority must be hydration. Over the course of the night, even if you weren't waking up to pee, your body has been losing moisture through your breath and your skin. You wake up in a natural state of mild dehydration. I want you to take a 10-ounce glass of warm water. Why warm? There is a fascinating body of research, often referred to as the Japanese water therapy studies, which suggests that warm water at the start of the day is significantly gentler on the internal organs. Cold water can cause a minor shock to the system, leading to temporary constriction of the vessels in the stomach and kidneys. Warm water, however, encourages immediate blood flow to the renal system. It jumpstarts what we call intestinal peristalsis, helping your digestion. But more importantly for our purposes, it tells your kidneys, the day shift has begun. Start filtering now. This 10-ounce kickstart is the first payment toward your 80% hydration goal. As we move into the morning peak between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m., we enter the most critical window for your kidneys. This is when your heart is at its most efficient, and your blood pressure is naturally at its daytime peak. Your kidneys are hungry for fluid during these hours. I recommend consuming a 10-ounce glass with breakfast and another 10-ounce glass around mid-morning. During this window, I need to teach you a fundamental rule that most Americans get wrong: the sipping rule. We live in a fast food culture where we tend to gulp down our drinks. You see people at the gym or in their cars tilting their heads back and draining a 20-ounce bottle in seconds. From a urological perspective, this is a disaster for someone over 60. When you gulp a large volume of water, you create a sudden tidal wave in your bloodstream. Your kidneys detect this sudden spike in volume and, fearing an overload, they immediately signal the bladder to dump the excess. It goes right through you without ever truly hydrating your cells. Instead, I want you to treat your water like a fine wine or a hot tea. A 10-ounce glass should take you 5 to 10 minutes to finish. By taking small, frequent sips, you allow the water to be absorbed through the intestinal wall gradually. This keeps your blood volume stable and allows your kidneys to process the fluid at a steady, manageable drip rather than a flood. This ensures the water actually reaches your brain, your skin, and your joints, rather than just filling your bladder in 30 minutes. By the time you reach 12:30 p.m., you should have another 10-ounce glass with your lunch. Again, sips are key. By 2 p.m., I want you to have your last large glass of the day. This is the final 10-ounce push. This brings us to what I call the 3 p.m. gold standard. This is your daily milestone. If you have followed the protocol, by 3 p.m., you should have consumed approximately 54 to 55 ounces of water. This is the gold standard because it represents 80% of your daily needs. If you reach this goal, you have successfully hydrated your body for the next 24 hours, while your factory was at full capacity. If you miss this mark and try to catch up later, you are essentially signing a contract to wake up at 3 a.m. After 3 p.m., we begin the evening wind down. Between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m., we aren't cutting water off entirely, but we are drastically reducing the volume. You should aim for no more than 10 ounces total during this entire 4-hour block. This might be a few sips here and there, or a small glass with an early dinner. We are letting the kidneys catch up on any remaining work from the morning while ensuring the bladder isn't being constantly refilled as the sun goes down. Finally, we reach the 9 p.m. hard stop. This is a non-negotiable boundary. After 9 p.m., no more water enters the system. Now, many of my patients complain about a dry mouth at night, which makes them want to drink. In most cases, this isn't true dehydration. It's a side effect of certain medications or simply mouth breathing during sleep. If you feel that thirst, do not swallow water. Instead, take a sip, swirl it around your mouth to moisten the tissues, and spit it out. This rinse and spit method satisfies the sensory need for moisture without adding a single ounce to your bladder. Let's look at Mrs. Martha, a 72-year-old former school teacher who was part of a pilot group I worked with. Martha was a chugger. She would go all morning without water, then realize at 4 p.m. she was thirsty and drink 32 ounces at once. She was waking up 3 times a night and felt like she was losing her mind from lack of sleep. When we moved her to the 7 a.m. kickstart and enforced the sipping rule, she was shocked. She told me, "Dr. Whitman, I'm actually drinking the same amount of water, but I feel more energetic, and I'm only waking up once, usually right before my alarm goes off." Martha's body didn't change, her timing did. She stopped flooding her system and started feeding it. Even if you follow the hour-by-hour protocol perfectly, you can still sabotage your progress if you are consuming what I call bladder irritants. Certain liquids don't just add volume, they actually harass the lining of your bladder and trick your brain into thinking you have to go when you really don't. The first and most famous is caffeine. This includes your morning coffee and your afternoon black tea. Caffeine is a double threat. First, it's a powerful diuretic, meaning it forces the kidneys to produce more urine than the volume of the drink itself. Second, it's a central nervous system stimulant that irritates the detrusor muscle of the bladder. According to the National Sleep Foundation, consuming caffeine after 2 p.m. can increase nighttime awakenings by 250%. Even decaf coffee has trace amounts of caffeine and acidic compounds that can irritate an older bladder. If you love your coffee, have it before noon. After that, your bladder needs a break. The second enemy is carbonated drinks, specifically sodas and seltzer waters. Many seniors have switched from soda to sparkling water, thinking it's healthier. While it's better for your waistline, the carbonation, the fizz, is actually carbonic acid. This acid changes the pH of your urine, making it more irritating to the sensitive lining of the bladder. For a 65-year-old bladder, this irritation feels like urgency. You might only have 2 ounces in your bladder, but the irritation makes it feel like 10. Third on the list are acidic juices. I'm talking about your morning orange juice, grapefruit juice, or even that healthy cranberry juice. These are highly acidic. In an older body, this acidity can lead to a micro-inflammation of the bladder wall. If you are going to enjoy these, do it strictly during the morning peak window so your body has hours to neutralize that acid before you lie down. Fourth, we have to talk about alcohol. This is a difficult one for many because a nightcap or a glass of wine with dinner is a cherished ritual. However, the University of Melbourne found that even a single glass of alcohol increases nighttime urination by 67%. Alcohol suppresses the vasopressin hormone we talked about earlier, the very hormone that is already declining in your 60s. When you drink alcohol, you are effectively turning off the kidney's brakes. You will produce a high volume of dilute urine all night long, and your sleep quality will be poor because alcohol disrupts your REM cycles. The fifth enemy is a stealth fluid. Evening soups. Many of my patients love a bowl of soup for dinner. It feels light and healthy. But a standard bowl of soup is essentially 10 to 12 ounces of fluid combined with a high dose of sodium. Salt acts like a magnet for water. It keeps the fluid in your system longer, and then, as you lie flat at night, that salt and water are processed by your kidneys. If you are having soup, make it a lunch item, not a dinner item. Sixth is nighttime milk. There is an old-fashioned belief that a warm glass of milk helps you sleep. While the tryptophan in milk is real, the fact is that milk is 87% water. Furthermore, the proteins in milk, casein and whey, require significant metabolic effort from the kidneys to break down. This metabolic work keeps the kidneys awake and producing urine long after you have fallen asleep. Finally, there are the diuretic teas. You might think a herbal tea like green tea or dandelion tea is safe because it is natural. But these are natural diuretics. They are specifically designed by nature to flush the kidneys. They are wonderful at 9 a.m. for a detox, but they are a disaster at 7 p.m. if you want to sleep. The platinum rule of this protocol is simple. After 3 p.m., your only liquid should be plain, still water. No bubbles, no caffeine, no alcohol, no soup, and no natural diuretics. Plain water is the only thing that your bladder can handle without becoming angry or irritated. Let's look at Mr. Arthur, a 74-year-old gentleman I treated last year. Arthur was a tea enthusiast. He would have a cup of Earl Grey at 4 p.m. and a cup of Sleepy Time, herbal tea at 8 p.m. He was waking up 5 times a night. He insisted the tea was helping him relax. I challenged him to follow the platinum rule for just 10 days. He moved his Earl Grey to 10 a.m. and replaced his 8 p.m. tea with the rinse and spit method. By day 4, Arthur called my office in tears of joy. He had slept from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. without moving. He said, "Dr. Whitman, I didn't realize I was poisoning my sleep with my evening rituals." Arthur's story is common. We often cling to habits that feel comforting, but are biologically counterproductive. By identifying these 7 hidden enemies and strictly adhering to the hour-by-hour protocol, you are removing the obstacles between you and a full night of rest. You are giving your bladder a quiet environment and your kidneys a light workload. When you combine the 8-hour method with the avoidance of these irritants, you aren't just trying to sleep better, you are re-engineering your internal environment for success. Tomorrow, when you wake up at 7 a.m., remember the warm water, remember the sips, and remember that every ounce you drink before 3 p.m. is a deposit into your sleep bank. In the next section, we will discuss the physical exercises that will actually resize your bladder to hold more, completing the transformation. We have covered the why and the when. We have discussed the biological shift of your kidneys and the precise hour-by-hour hydration protocol to keep them from being overwhelmed. But there is a third, equally critical pillar to this system. Even if you manage your water perfectly, you are still operating with a physical container, your bladder, and a nervous system that governs when you feel the urge. As we age, the communication between the brain and the bladder can become noisy. The bladder becomes twitchy, and the muscles that support it, the pelvic floor, can weaken. In this section, I am going to teach you 5 clinical techniques to physically strengthen your bladder and reprogram your nervous system. These are the tools that will allow you to hold more, worry less, and finally sleep through the night. Most of my patients have what I call a reactive bladder. The moment they feel the slightest sensation of fullness, they rush to the bathroom. They do this because they are afraid of an accident, or because the sensation is uncomfortable. However, by going to the bathroom just in case, or at the very first signal, you are actually training your bladder to become smaller and more sensitive. You are teaching that it only needs to hold 3 or 4 ounces before it gets emptied. We need to reverse this. We use a protocol called scheduled bladder training. The next time you are at home during the day and you feel the urge to urinate, I want you to look at the clock and wait exactly 5 minutes before you go. During those 5 minutes, stay calm, breathe, and distract yourself. Why does this work? You are retraining the stretch receptors in the bladder wall. You are telling your brain, I am the one in control, not the bladder. After 1 week of the 5-minute rule, move it to 10 minutes. By week 3, aim for 15 minutes. A study involving 300 seniors showed that after 6 weeks of this incremental training, 71% of participants increased their bladder capacity by 40%. They were able to go from needing a bathroom every hour to comfortably waiting 3 or 4 hours. When your bladder can hold more during the day, it won't wake you up for tiny amounts during the night. Many of my male patients think Kegels are only for women. This is a clinical misconception. Both men and women have a pelvic floor, a hammock of muscles that supports the bladder and controls the sphincter that keeps urine in. After age 60, these muscles naturally atrophy, leading to urgency and nighttime leakage. In a landmark study from the University of California, researchers found that seniors who performed Kegel exercises religiously for 12 weeks reduced their episodes of nocturnal incontinence and urgency by 80%. Here is how you do them correctly. Imagine you are standing in an elevator and you feel the sudden urge to pass gas, but you need to stop it. The muscles you tighten to hold it in are your pelvic floor muscles. Squeeze those muscles for 5 seconds. Do not hold your breath. Keep breathing normally. Relax for 5 seconds. Repeat this 10 times in a row. Do this 3 times a day. Maybe while you're reading the morning paper, while you're eating lunch, and while you're watching the evening news. It is invisible. It is free. And it is the most effective way to tighten the seal on your bladder. This is a technique that many people overlook because it seems too simple. However, there is a direct chemical link between stress and urine production. When you are stressed or anxious, even about whether you'll be able to sleep, your body produces cortisol. High cortisol levels suppress the hormone vasopressin, the one that slows down urine production. To combat this, we use a 4-4-6 breathing technique 20 minutes before bed. Inhale deeply through your nose for a count of 4. Hold that breath for a count of 4. Exhale very slowly through your mouth for a count of 6. Repeat this 10 times. This specific rhythm activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode. It signals your brain to lower cortisol and start ramping up vasopressin. You are literally telling your kidneys to go to sleep. This is perhaps the most important tip for anyone who suffers from swelling in their feet or ankles, a condition we call edema. If your socks leave a ring around your ankles at the end of the day, you have a hidden reservoir of fluid sitting in your legs. The moment you lie flat in bed, gravity no longer keeps that fluid in your ankles. It rushes back into your bloodstream, your heart pumps it to your kidneys, and suddenly, 2 hours after you fall asleep, your kidneys produce a massive amount of urine. This is why you might follow the hydration protocol, but still wake up to pee. The solution? Pre-processing. 2 hours before your bedtime, around 7 p.m., lie on your sofa. And elevate your legs on 2 or 3 pillows so that your ankles are higher than your heart. Stay there for 20 to 30 minutes. This allows gravity to move that fluid back to your kidneys while you are still awake. You will likely feel the urge to go to the bathroom shortly after standing up. This is exactly what we want. You are preemptively emptying your legs so that the fluid doesn't surprise you at 2 a.m. This is a simple physical trick to ensure your bladder is truly empty before you get into bed. Many people go to the bathroom, finish, and immediately leave. However, because of the shape of the bladder and potential issues like an enlarged prostate in men or pelvic organ prolapse in women, a small pool of urine often remains at the bottom. To fix this, use double voiding. Go to the bathroom as you normally would. When you think you are finished, stay seated or standing. Wait 30 seconds. Leaning slightly forward, try to go again. Often you will find that another 2 or 3 ounces will come out. Those few extra ounces are often the difference between sleeping until 7 a.m. and waking up at 4 a.m. The story of Mrs. Rose. I remember Mrs. Rose, a 68-year-old grandmother who was at her wits' end. She was waking up 4 times a night. Not only was she exhausted, but she was also sleeping in a separate room from her husband, because her constant getting up was ruining his sleep too. She felt isolated and old. We implemented the leg elevation at 7 p.m. and the double voiding technique. Within 2 weeks, she was only waking up once. By the end of the month, she was sleeping through the night. She told me, "Dr. Whitman, you didn't just give me my sleep back, you gave me my marriage back. I'm back in my own bed, and I have the energy to play with my grandkids again." Rose's success wasn't from a pill. It was from these simple physical adjustments. I have given you a lot of information. To make this easy for you to implement starting tomorrow, let's walk through the perfect 24-hour cycle. I want you to imagine this is your new operating manual. The morning routine, hydration focus. 7 a.m. Wake up. Use the double voiding technique to empty your bladder. Immediately drink 10 ounces of warm water. Do not eat yet. Let the water prime your system. 7:30 a.m. Breakfast. Enjoy your meal with an 8-ounce glass of water, sipped slowly over 10 minutes. If you need coffee, this is your time. 1 cup, black or with minimal sugar. 9 a.m., 11 a.m. This is your kidney's peak hour. Drink 2 10-ounce glasses during this window. Use the 5-minute rule if you feel a daytime urge to go. 12:30 p.m. Lunch. Drink 10 ounces of water, sipped throughout the meal. The afternoon routine. The taper. 2 p.m. This is your last large glass, 10 ounces. Once this is finished, you have hit your 80% hydration goal. 3 p.m. The gold standard checkpoint. You are now officially hydrated for the day. 4 p.m. Do your first set of 10 Kegel repetitions. 5 p.m. If you feel thirsty, have a small 5-ounce glass of plain water. No soda, no juice, no bubbles. The evening routine, the protection phase. 6 p.m., early dinner. Minimize salt. If you have soup, keep the portion small. Drink no more than 4 ounces with your meal. 7 p.m. Leg elevation. Lie down with your feet above your heart for 20 minutes. Stand up, go to the bathroom, and use double voiding. 8:30 p.m. Pre-sleep routine. No screens. Do your 4-4-6 deep breathing exercise. Do your final set of Kegels. 9 p.m. The hard stop. No more drinking. If your mouth is dry, use the rinse and spit method. 10 p.m. Final visit to the bathroom using double voiding. Go to bed with the confidence that your system is quiet. What to expect? Your success. Timeline. I want to be very honest with you. Your body will not change overnight. You are undoing years of habit and biological patterns. Week 1, the adjustment. You might still wake up once or twice. Your bladder is learning the new schedule. Don't get discouraged. Your energy during the day will already start to improve because you are finally hydrated at the right times. Week 2, the reduction. This is when the magic happens. You will notice your nighttime trips cut in half. Your urgency during the day will decrease as your bladder training takes hold. Week 3 and 4, consolidation. By now, your kidneys have synced with the 8-hour method. Your pelvic floor is stronger. Most of my patients find they reach their goal of 0 to 1 wake-up per night. You will wake up feeling refreshed without that brain fog that has plagued you for years. The final word, Mr. Frank's transformation. To close, I want to share the story of Mr. Frank, a 76-year-old veteran. Frank had been waking up 5 times a night for 8 years. He had tried every prostate pill on the market, but nothing worked. He was convinced he would never sleep through the night again. He felt like he was fading away. Frank followed this master plan exactly as I laid it out. He printed the schedule and put it on his refrigerator. In the first week, he was frustrated because he still woke up twice. But I told him to stick with it, to trust the science of the kidney night shift. By the 21st day, Frank woke up at 6:30 a.m. and realized he hadn't moved since 11 p.m. He told me, "Dr. Whitman, I haven't felt this much energy since my 60s. I feel like a man again. I have my independence back. That is my wish for you. You deserve to be independent. You deserve to be rested. You deserve to live your life without being tethered to a bathroom or living in fear of a nighttime fall. Your body has an incredible capacity to adapt if you give it the right tools. Tomorrow at 7 a.m., take that first sip of warm water. Start your clock. Work with your kidneys. Train your bladder. And tonight, sleep with the peace of mind you've been missing for far too long." I am Dr. Eric Whitman. If this protocol helps you, please share it with someone you care about. We are in this together. Sleep well, rest deeply, and I will see you in the next video. The most dangerous threat to your health isn't always a crisis. It is the silent, cumulative exhaustion of a heart and kidney system that never truly gets to rest. If you have spent years drinking a large glass of water before bed or sipping tea late into the evening, you weren't being careless. You were simply following common health advice that missed one crucial detail: timing. It wasn't your fault that the system never explained the kidney SE night shift to you. But now that control is back in your hands. By starting the 8-hour method tomorrow morning, you are choosing your long-term independence over a nightly struggle. If you are ready to reclaim your sleep, simply comment, "Ready to rest," below. I invite you to stay with this channel, not for entertainment, but as a protective measure to hear the clinical truths that a standard 15-minute Dr. S visit often leaves out. In our next conversation, we will look at a silent thief that is even more common than sleep loss, one that affects your mobility before you even feel the first ache. I share these insights because I have sat with too many patients who only said, "I wish I had known this sooner." I'm Dr. Eric Whitman. Sleep well.